now it's true.
Okay, interesting.
Alright.
Hey guys.
Hi, Maya and Sabrina.
So this is the 7th production workshop, or 6th, something like that.
Some number.
I hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving. Oh my god, everyone's looking at me.
See, this is most people paying attention. It's more than 2 people. You got lots of people watching it.
Nice. I hope you guys all had a good Thanksgiving break. And welcome back. So we're going to be talking about what it means to create and present a quote-unquote finished game. So, what is a finished game? It's pretty subjective. It depends on really you and your team's definition of what a finished game is. And in terms of the club, we're looking for something that's functional. It doesn't have to include fancy art. It doesn't have to include music. Just so long as you have a beginning and an end and some kind of basic mechanic. Right. And then I put this little thing here where I'm just like, but what if, like, shouldn't we include art and music? And, like, yeah, I mean, ideally you would want to have, like, actual art and music and pretty UI and things like that in your game. But realistically, it's unlikely because you only have 7 weeks to make, like, a legitimate game. The goal should be to create a polished game no matter how short. It can be 1 level, it can be 3 levels. It's just however much you and your team can, like, fit into the project. Right. I wrote this like 3 different times because I didn't have anything else to write. Yeah, you
Just go on. Just go on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, these are just some examples that we have of, like, basic ideas of like a finished game.
Very original, as you can tell.
You're the worst.
Ending become the best, and in between you have to catch pocket monsters along the way.
I put the puppies
Yeah.
in. I like puppies.
Yeah.
It's just like a start and end and just some kind of mechanic or goal.
In between, yeah.
So, you guys have like a week left. That is scary. But I know you guys are very responsible and have already created a pretty polished game. And you're just working on polish for this next week. If you're not, don't freak out. Just try and get whatever you have remaining done within this week.
Is this
I think it's,
my section?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, so, I'm predicting that many projects are on the fence of you have mechanics that you still have to implement, but with 1 week left, you're scared as to whether or not you can get to everything that you have on your plate. So referencing back to our previous presentation, it's ideal if you scope down, because with 7 days left, you know, that's pretty much no time at all. So scope down if you haven't already, and if you already did, scope down some more. Within reason, of course. You still want a game with like a beginning and an ending and something in the middle, but your goal is to create that functional, polished game, and when you're just adding mechanics last minute, you know, you don't know for sure whether or not it's actually going to be functional. So you want to get done what you have right now, and then play test, and then see if you can get that working. And then once you have that done, then you can add on more. Because when, like, my previous project, we were here in the game lab literally 5 minutes before presentations, like implementing everything. And it was super stressful, and it was very painful, and you do not want to go through that, guys, okay? Just cut back, make sure you have everything functional before you add more. All right. So practical goals, like I said, finish what you already have, implement whatever you have on hand, and maybe make just basic assets, something like not too difficult, because if you start anything new, you have to take into consideration all the steps that come into making that. Like, for example, a sprite, you need to animate it, you need to implement it, you need to make sure it works, there's no bugs, stuff like that. And then also, if you do start anything new, you want to communicate with your teammates to make sure that they're actually motivated to do it. Because if you tell them to do something and they're not really into it, then that's a lot of stress and they're not going to have a good time, and that's not what you want. What you want is to make sure that your teammates are enjoying yourself. That's your number one goal. To make sure that your teammates, you're doing what your teammates want to do. They're having a good time. This is a project that they're enjoying, and they're getting what they want out of the project. That's goal number one. Number two is the project's completion and functionality. This is entirely objective. That you have a game that's working and that everyone has produced something, that they have something to show from their hard work. And then last but not least is just polishing, which hopefully we'd be able to do. But of course, that's just a cherry on top. It's not necessary, but it'd be nice. So yeah, just make sure you communicate with your teammates, make sure they're having fun. Afterwards, see whether or not the game's doing well, and then you can just fill in all the little cracks and stuff. Don't worry about quality. Although you want to strive for completion, it's not like 100% achievable, depending on like your scope. Since for many people, this is going to be their first project. Like, you weren't able to fathom how difficult it was to maintain quarter system and a game. Like, we get it. It's okay if you don't have a complete game. Like, that's what happened to me. Like, I presented scenes within my Unity project. We opened up Unity and presented scenes in it. It wasn't like all attached. It wasn't a complete game. But, like, we were able to show what we had done. That's completely okay, because in the end, my programmers learned so much, and that's amazing. Yeah.
Question: why does the club do like quarter by quarter rather than the whole year?
Go ahead.
So we encourage quarter by quarter, because if we have like this policy to fail faster. I don't know if you've heard of that before, where if you fail quickly, then you can pick up and learn from that experience and start something new, knowing, like, having previous experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, we also have year-long projects, but the thing is, year-long projects lose steam along the way. As someone who's done a year-long project, it's very difficult to maintain like that motivation within your group of people, because after like a quarter or two, people are just like, oh my god, can I move on with this? Like, I just want to do something new. And then you kind of have like, you're in this scenario where you're just like, okay, so these people want to leave and they want to try something new, and I'm here and I want to finish this game. You know, like, we have a lot of year-long projects kind of fall apart. So we encourage quarter long.
And then also, like, since this is a new project for many people, like, you have a bunch of rubble and a bunch of failures, like, because this is a learning project, and then instead of like fixing that rubble, like, you can just start anew with new foundation from like with all your new skills that you've acquired from that rubble, which is why we encourage failing faster and learning, so that you can move on to a project that you're super motivated about right from the get-go, and then use those, like, apply those skills that you learned from your first project. So definitely, from my experience, that would be much more enjoyable. So yeah. Anyways, so yeah, the end goal is that your team is learning, and we get that in the learning process you don't always get a complete project, and that's perfectly fine. So don't worry about quality. You're fine. Even if there's amazing projects, you still had this amazing experience, your team members learned, and it's a good time. Yeah, end goal is a successful project, and from my definition, from the club's definition, our goal is to have teammates learn what they aspire to learn, to gain something that they find truly valuable. So the journey is greater than the destination. All right? Yeah. It's really short.
Yeah, so we want to open it up to like check in on teams. If you guys have any concerns, or like just how progress is going.
and then we can help you try to get that end product. So, open board. All
Nice.
right.
Nice.
Everyone is sick all the time.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. It's okay. So yeah.
That's it. That's all we
60.
had.
Yeah.
That's short. Okay.
There's
Well,
not much you can do for
yeah.
production.
Week 9 production.
But yeah, thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah,
for
y'all are
coming.
beautiful.